Hey, it's Yafa. I'm actually going to do this video twice, once for the club and also once for my YouTube channel, because I think it's a really important video. So the question is, how do you know if you're a bad parent? And it's actually super easy. And unfortunately, so many people um, think they're bad parents and they're not. So the difference between a typical parent and a bad parent is not the number of mistakes you make. It's um, it's whether you make the same mistakes many times and don't learn from your own mistakes. And I mean many times. Like every parent, almost every parent, has said by mistake, "I hate you" to your kids. It happens to most parents. Um, and in most situations, it will be forgotten or even laughed at down the line. Yeah, it's a hurtful thing to say, but it's if in the course of, let's say, 10 years, you say it 10 times, that's once a year. If in the course of 10 months, you say it 10 times, that would be something to look at. And that may not even mean that you're a bad parent, but obviously something's going on. And that would need to be discussed. And my guess is, not knowing, speaking in general terms, that there's probably some anxiety or depression going on in that parent, and therapy would be a good idea, possibly seeing a doctor. Um, if you are saying it 10 times in a month, that is not good. That's like the difference. So you can see there's, just with this one example, 10 times in a month, not a good deal. 10 times in 10 months, something to be concerned about, but still maybe not a bad parent, just somebody who's suffering. 10 times in 10 years, no, I wouldn't worry about it. Um, Bad parents do things like, here's the really easy way to figure it out, because I can look at, what would make me call the police on a parent. so, so, okay. Bad parents are physically abusive. And that means that your kids are getting regularly hit. You can look that up online as far as, the difference. Um, they are being verbally, emotionally abusive, um, calling your kids names, literally names like um, um, you're an asshole, or you're an a-hole, or you're a butthole, or um, or labeling them something cruel like you're stupid, you're lazy, you're anything that um, statements that are negative, that are super negative like that, like you are this, um, like you are this negative thing, those can stick. Um, you can't do anything right. Those are really, really hurtful comments. Again, it depends on the frequency. Um, However, I would say that the frequency is sort of upped. You don't want, in other words, you don't want to be, you are lazy is the most common one I hear. I don't think there's such a thing as lazy. I think it's always something else. You don't want to keep saying you're lazy, you're irresponsible, you're this, you're that, you're the other thing, because those can be hurtful. Does that make you a bad parent? Depends on the frequency. A lot of parents do that, and they aren't necessarily bad parents, but a lot of parents do that and they are bad parents. It's it's like a red flag. Don't so here's the deal. If you stopped saying negative things, like typing them, giving them a personality trait, like assigning them the personality trait of lazy, irresponsible, stupid. If you stopped that, it would make a huge difference. Huge difference. And bad parents also, how do I say this? I don't want to get political. They, I'm just thinking of somebody who is probably a bad parent. Um, Bad parents will sacrifice, in a way, their children to keep their own dignity. So I didn't do that. She's lying. When actually your child is telling the truth about something you did, but you're trying to cover for yourself, so you blame your child. So blaming your child for doing something that's your responsibility, that's not a good thing. Um, so my point again being putting your own dignity or self-image ahead of your child's dignity and self-image um, is really tipping the balance towards being not a good parent. There is no need to protect yourself. It's not like an either or, is what I'm trying to say. You can protect your own self-worth and dignity without diminishing the self-worth and dignity of your child. That's how I want to put it. Now, if you need help with learning that, you know where to come. I'm right here. A lot of people are worried about being a bad parent, and they're not. In my opinion, it's doesn't have to do, there's quantity versus quality. I don't get into that. I mean, obviously, quality is important. Which is more important? It's. I don't think that's the best argument to make. I don't think that's a relevant thing. Some moms, some families, both parents work. I don't think that's a problem. In some families, neither parent works. I don't know if that's a problem or not. I mean, anything could be a problem depending on how it translates into your time with your children. Um, if I mean, I have worked with families where neither parent works, but they do other things in the community. Because they have a lot of money. They don't have to work, but they do other things in the community. That's a really good example for your child. To be a person that gives to the community is great. So it kind of depends on what you do with the rest of your time, not whether you work or not. That isn't really an issue. It's nice that there are parents that stay home with their kids. I don't think it's necessary, depending on the age of the kid. I don't think daycare is bad and being home with your kids is good. I think you need to do what's right for your family. There is dignity in parenting a number of different ways as far as your schedule is concerned and your work situation. I mean, there's dignity in a lot of that. And so being a bad parent is not dependent on how much time you spend with your kids. It's what you do with the time you spend with your kids. If you're busy spending that time criticizing them or yelling at them or getting mad at them, then yeah, let's take care of that. Like, let's do something about that. Only because it could escalate. You don't want it to become something that becomes a problem. So, yeah, so that's that. If you have more questions or you want things more specific or you want to ask something specific, like I did this, is this bad parenting or is this a bad thing? Like, here's the deal. Most parents are fantastic parents and they could be better. That's just the way it is. We can always get better at something. If you have been raised by an abusive parent, then you probably know whether you're a bad parent or not, because you have a gauge. If you haven't been raised by an abusive parent, you won't necessarily know, and you'll probably be harder on yourself. So do take this to heart as far as what the distinctions are. And, again, ask me if you have some specific questions. I'm not going to judge you. Um, I really have heard it all. Um, and I'm telling you, here's where I would call the police. I would call the police if if somebody was being beaten, if somebody not spanked, beaten. Um, like if I think your kid's life is in danger, I'm going to call the police. Um, if you're calling your child names, I'm not going to call the police. I'm not going to agree with it, but I'm not going to call the police. Um, if you're, forcing drugs or alcohol into your child, I'm going to call the police. You know what I'm saying? It's like, those are real distinctions, but most parents don't do those things. So those are the bad parents. Um, anyway, hope that answers your question. And yeah, keep the questions coming. I love them. Thanks. Bye.